Guys, I thought I'd just take a few minutes to give some updates on recent stuff that's coming up, recent stuff that's happening. This is going to be directed mostly toward the Lawrence people. Um, you guys have seen some reporting in the newspaper. Today, there is reporting from staff. I don't know who staff is, but the Lawrence Journal World is quoted as saying that the police had reviewed a complaint at the Citizens Police Review Board. And that's not what happened. And it was called out at the Police Review Board, but they still just ignore that. Um, there's a meeting on that coming up July 31st, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Carnegie Building. It's at 9th in Vermont. I'll be there, and I'm going to stay for the whole meeting this time. We're going to see whether reality is going to set in for anybody, and if there's going to be any truth in the room. The chief just continually just keeps making up shit as he goes, and the problem is he can't remember all those things that he said, and he can't remember everything that's happened, so he naturally sticks his foot in his mouth and says things that just aren't true. I think the work group members have all been made aware of that since this last meeting. There's been a lot of back and forth by email. There's been a lot of things coming to light for people. I think some light bulbs are going off, maybe with a few work group members realizing what's really going on in Lawrence. But the idea that the citizens are going to be locked out of that, Chief, you've got that wrong. You've been here a year and a half, and you act like you've known this town, man. And I told the chief this in an email. 32 to 33 years I've lived here. Even an asshole develops some connections in that amount of time. Okay, so Chief, you can have whatever view you want of me, but I'm having these conversations, and it's not looking good for you. People aren't impressed with your behavior. So I'm not going to be showing a whole lot of, I don't have any video to show you tonight. Got another trespassing, cutting out again. Adine, I'm sorry. Let me move over here a little bit. Problem is it gets dark if I go over here. We'll try to keep it from cutting out. Got another trespassing charge the other day. Now this one's kind of interesting. They have trespassed me off of somebody else's property this time. The city did. They told me that they were acting on good faith problem, and I'm not sure how they're acting on good faith after they've been told the truth and ignore it. You guys will have to tell me if this is still cutting out. I want to stop the shake. But when they say they're acting on good faith probable cause, what good faith is there when you're being shown a recent survey done by the agency in town that does surveys, and it's showing that I am on private property at the point that police trespass me from what they claim is theirs? You can't just build a fence around private property, claim care, custody, and control over it, and then start trespassing people out and treat it as though it's yours. Hey guys, come on. Let's be real about this bullshit that you're trying to do. I sent an email to the Caw District Attorney to let him know what was going on, and they know. It was all in the newspaper. We know that you didn't have any permission or agreement or anything in place to be there. So what are you doing? And again, this is about the fact that you have trespassed supportive advocates out of a homeless camp that you can't manage. And you have several people that are out there on a regular basis that you actually ask for donations. And they're bringing you stuff that you're actually mismanaging, from what I'm hearing. Not even handling it correctly. Making the advocates feel like they have to hang around and manage it themselves just to make sure it gets evenly distributed. The city workers don't care. They're just there cutting a paycheck. Advocates do, and we're the ones that would step in and help. But we've all been trespassed out of there, and that's why I keep going out there and keep attempting to break this trespass stuff, because they can't, from a place, number one, off private property, number two, only to keep press out. It's very inconsistent. We'll be able to prove this in court. There's not a lot of meetings at the end of the month around Lawrence. We have the county meeting, but those three up there. City's more important right now. There is no CPRB meetings or anything. They've canceled that. And I was looking back. They canceled those meetings. I don't believe we had an April meeting. And April was when the executive session was going to be to discuss that trespassing ticket that they gave to James Richard, a homeless guy here in town. But instead of having that executive session, all board meetings were canceled, and the board member that requested the executive session was gone from the board. You know, that's how we do things around here. Somebody gets close to getting to the truth, and boy, everything just up, and we change directions. Those days are over. And Chad Lawhorn at the Lawrence Journal World, I've sent him a number of things over the last few days, letting him know that I'm watching, and we're going to be calling out his lies. And this thing with trying to say that the CPRB reviewed a complaint, he knows better, and he's helping spin the narrative. And those of you that are believing it, I'm sorry, but if you're not willing to see truth just because you don't like the messenger, that's not something I can do for you. I can't help you there. But you can go out and do the research yourself. You can take the 40, 50, 60 hours it takes to look into this stuff on your own. Yeah, I don't mind if you do that work, but I mean, you could just listen to the person that already has. Monday, the 31st, there is the CPRB work group meeting. I want to encourage Lawrence residents, those of you that have contacted, I think we really need to come out in force and go in there and let them know where you stand. I mean, this is a public engagement session. They're called the 10th, when I took in the evidence that they all wanted to ignore. You know, it's time for everybody to go in there. These are the people that have been abused by the police and brought me videos of it. The people that tell me all the time how police are harassing them things. These board members need to hear it now before they start trying to make recommendations with a flawed board. They need to understand from the public that everybody sees that this process is flawed. The people that from the police department are in there to manipulate and control. And they're wanting to water down the oversight process. And that's not what we need in Lawrence. We've tried for 7 years to get something off the ground, and we're close. And now that we're close, we see the lengths that they will go to. And this is a chief of police that will just blatantly lie about things and mislead board members in an attempt to avoid the accountability that he knows is coming. On Tuesday, August 1st, there is a city commission meeting. August 1st was the date that Doug Compton was supposed to be bringing back the IRB for the Borders building. I have talked to Doug, and there's some things happening there, and I'm going to give him a chance because, honestly, I had a really good conversation with him. He sounded open to engaging on the issues of affordable housing. And, you know, if he's going to engage, I'm going to give the guy a chance. So don't look for any zebra videos right now. You know, I want to give the guy a chance because this isn't about private people. It never has been. Doug's a private citizen, but the Borders thing kind of set me off, and the fact that we need affordable housing kind of combined with that, and so we ended up having a meeting. But Tuesday is going to be important because the City Commission needs to hear what's going on with the Police Review Board work group, the homeless situation. You got a site supervisor out there that shows up in flip-flops. I don't know, every job I've ever had, they required closed-toed shoes so that you could respond to emergent situations. And I would think at a homeless camp where you're having repeated overdoses and all this stuff that they have this narrative about in the paper, you would think they would have their employees out there in closed-toed shoes so that they could respond. But no, it also came out that it's not just 5 felonies, it was 44 felonies altogether. So those of you that answered the poll that I had put out, 44 was the correct answer. This is a self-admitted disclosure that was made I guess to correct the record. I'm not sure what that was. And while we're talking about Ron, and Ron, if you're watching, you need to really quit taking offense when I stand my ground against unconstitutional laws. It wasn't about you, but guys, when I went out there to trespass, or to challenge the trespass, not to just trespass, to challenge the trespass order on private property, Ron took personal offense. Who has those felonies? Oh, that's Ron, the big guy, Ron that runs the camp. 44 of them, he told one of the advocates. 44 past felonies. So I know some of them were for fraud and different things like that, but damn. Wow, what the fuck is exactly right? But yeah, closed-toed shoes would help if you're going to respond to some emergent situations. I don't know. I'm in a mood to answer questions. Anybody got any questions? Is there any Lawrence people in here right now that's got any questions? Type them in the chat. But Monday and Tuesday are two important meetings that I need people to show up to. We all need people to show up to. And it's not about, don't come in there trying to support me. I got myself. You come in there and give them what you think and what you want to see happening. Not everybody's going to go in there like I do. I'm just trying to clear the path so that you feel more comfortable. So how about a few of you come? I'll hang out for a couple minutes here. I know we're dropping off on viewers, but if anybody has any questions. Clinton, I appreciate you always being around to mod a little bit. We never really have much problems here, and I don't know if that's why because you're throwing the right people out or whether we just don't have problems. But, all right, guys, it's 10 o'clock at night in the Central Time Zone, freaking above 90 degrees. It's still hot out here. If you can, take some water out to the camp. You know, take some ice. You know, there's always a need for ice because it melts so fast. If you can drop a bag of ice off, everybody will go nuts, I'm sure. Do you have the survey from the county? John, what survey? Are you talking about the land survey out in North Lawrence? If you are, the county survey right now, the one that's on the GIS, is actually inaccurate. Some of the ownership of some of those properties out in North Lawrence did a new survey, and they engaged their own, they paid for it themselves. And they did a really good job with it, because what they did is they took recent pictures of the camp expansion and then had the survey overlaid on it so that you can actually see where the property lines are in relationship to the tents that are in the camp. And that survey is the one that, if you guys are local, those of you that are local, you might have seen in the paper this past week discussions about them claiming that the city had violated their property. And yes, John, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I have that survey. It's a new one that was done by the property owners. But the city was made aware of that by those property owners and the landlords, and the owners. And their attorneys were in some kind of discussion about liability. So the city can't claim that they didn't know where those property lines were, because this is there are issues, Mike, from time to time. Oh, excellent. Thanks, Ms. Price, for dropping all that stuff off. It helps. I've got a neighbor, I call her Andrea down the street, that keeps popping up with little donations for the camp, and we really appreciate those kind of little things. If any of my other neighbors around here that are seeing me on here want to come by the house and drop some things off for the camp, I'll be happy to take it out there. Mostly what I'm looking for is liquids for the summer. Can I get a letter from the owners? John, I don't really need a letter. The reality is on open property like that, they have, in order to be trespassed, you have to be advised that you're not allowed to be there. And this is open drainage district property. It's basically the area where the drainage water from rain and runoff drains back into the river. And so it's more of an ecological thing. It's to keep the river clean and things like that. And I'm sure that that's one of the concerns they have about having the camp there, is the amount of trash and things like that, since this is a drainage district. So I can understand that concern. But getting them to sign off on something, they haven't engaged yet. We'll see what happens. But I don't need them to sign off at this point, because in order for them to pursue criminally against me, there has to first be a trespassing warning from the appropriate property owner. And that wasn't done. The trespass was done on the authority of the city on somebody else's land. And that's where we get into difficulties. That would be the same as me saying, well, I don't want you on my land, and then you walk up on my neighbor's land and I say, you can't be there either, and then I go ahead and call the police and enforce my neighbor's property rights. And that's not the way it works. You have to enforce your own rights. And it's kind of funny. Here's the twist on this. So we have the city that wants to charge me with trespassing on somebody else's land, but the way they want to get rid of that bias complaint about the homeless jaywalking ticket is to say that I don't have standing to make the complaint. So they want to say that I don't have standing to make the complaint, but they're claiming standing enough to claim property rights from a private property owner. This is the arrogance. This is the arrogance. That watching from Tucson. Adina, paying attention to Direct D down there? He's really got it going on, and I hope he wins, and he looks like he's on the right track. I just hope that he doesn't run into a corrupt judge that does some crazy shit. Who knows? But he's been putting out a lot of good information and doing a lot of good research and busting open the open record laws. The city is writing me a pretty good... Now, I don't know if they're going to be writing a check, but we'll see. Has the owner pursued legal recourse? Legal recourse, I don't believe, has been pursued. I believe it's been discussed, if necessary, that they would. Now, I'm working off news reports here. I haven't had any in-person conversations. I do know that there's desires to develop that area, so they're probably not going to want to get into a big fight with the city. So, because they're going to need help getting their development done down the road, and that's the world we live in. But I do know that they had asked the city to make a declaration as far as liability, and that was one of their main concerns, was about the liability as a property owner, and with the city operating on their property. Does the city automatically assume liability? Well, the reality is when they trespassed me from that property that wasn't the city's and claimed care, custody, and control, there's a strong indication there that liability question may have been cleared up by that care, custody, and control statement. It's a little difficult to claim care, custody, and control over somebody's property in order to enforce criminal code, and then claim that you don't have the care, custody, and control to be held liable for civil code. So those are a couple different things. John, you asked good questions. What else you got? I just can't believe that they actually, they use the words good faith during this. I don't know. Citing somebody criminally and then making them appear in court, it may seem, I guess in the situation that I'm in right now, I'm going to go into it pro se. I think at least I'm going to start out that way. We'll see. If I get to a point where I can't feel comfortable going in there and doing that, I'll hire an attorney to help. That's not a problem. But the idea that they can make a really any kind of argument to be able to support their cause on somebody else's private property is a little difficult. Matt, the pro se, I got to be telling you, man, this is the reason, and it has to do with the city prosecutor herself. Several years ago, what got me started was one of those city prosecutors refiling a case on me after I did an open record request for some evidence. That prosecutor got investigated and exonerated, and she's now an ADA in another county. But in the meantime of me getting started, our current prosecutor came into City Hall and made a nice presentation about the prosecutor's office, and you guys can go back and watch that video. It's in a playlist called The Prosecutor. You can watch the whole playlist if you want. You can see what's going on with that. But this person has been nasty to me, and that office has been nasty towards citizens. So The reason they're not dropping the case, Chiva, is because they want to drag me down that road and make it cost me as much time and treasure as possible. That's the other part of the reason I'm deciding to handle these things pro se. If they want to drag this out, why should I be paying an attorney to play their game? Let's wait and see if they can produce something that's actually going to be worth my time and above my head. Because I really don't think that a property right situation like this that's cut so clearly can be above the citizen's head and being able to fight it. The other thing is Anthony, the fellow that had the 3 fingers shoved into his throat that you all may have seen, he filed pro se on his, and the district attorneys just dismissed his case. And there's a video on that as well. We went in there to find out whether the case was being dismissed, and all they would tell him is, no, hearing's canceled. It took more days and time and everything else to get a note from them saying it's been dismissed. That's how they'll talk to you, because they don't like you screwing up their little game. Just today, Stephen Drake was acquitted, and there's comments on the Facebook page for the news stories saying that our DA loses cases and can't convict and all this. Hey, I don't know that it's the DA's fault as much as it is the cases the police are bringing. They don't know how to investigate. They don't know how to properly execute constitutional policing. And that's not anything I can help them with, apparently, because they haven't accepted my help in 3 years. But they do run their own training academy here, so they keep it all compartmentalized. I told some people today that keeping everything so compartmentalized like that, it allows them to go ahead and teach them how to do it our way. We don't learn the real way or the right way or the legal way or the constitutional way. We learn the Lawrence way of doing this. And the Lawrence way of doing this in the past has traditionally been to buckle somebody up and then ask questions later. And they're real quick to go hands-on, and they're real quick to escalate force. Had a guy that I put on blast this week. You can see him on the channel and on the Facebook page. Nicholas Zuloff decided he was going to act like he literally unhooked his first safety, took a stance to draw down on me when he got called out to that trespassing citation. And you can see in the post that I made, I even put the weapon in my vehicle and secured it in my vehicle. But he's gonna start getting ready to draw down on me. Somebody that everybody in town knows. I mean, I'm not a quiet person, and I'm not a very private person these days. But this guy's going to draw down on me. Now, how's he going to treat the guy that he's never come across before, that he doesn't know anything about? Or better yet, look at it the other way. Is this Lockhart? Is this the police department, the people that don't like what I'm doing? It's telling them, hey, if he gives you a reason, go ahead and blow him away. Is that what's going on? I told you guys at that scene, and it's going to be on the body cam when I get it and put it out for everybody to see. I lectured him about that and yelled at him to take his hands off his gun. Lectured him about thinking that I would pull a gun and shoot them. And I said to them that would not be me. I would never pull my gun out and take a shot at a cop. And I've been thinking about that a lot since that happened. I got to tell you, in today's day and age, if you pull your gun out and shoot at me inappropriately, Zuloff, if you would have pulled that gun out and fired at me in that circumstance that we were in, I'm sorry, man. I can't tell you that I wouldn't have pulled mine and fired back. But what do you expect? I mean, you act like you're that scared of me, and I've never given you that a reason to think that I would ever do harm to you. Not once. And when I'm told I'm under arrest, I don't fight back. Haven't. You might try to say I have, but I haven't. But seriously, one of these Lawrence cops and Lockhart, if you're going to have them gunning for me this way, or get them amped up to where they're ready to shoot me over nothing, I mean, if bullets start flying my way, I'm going to have no choice, and I will defend myself. And I hope anybody out there can respect that. That scared me, Zuloff. You frightened me that day. I'm not going to walk around scared of you, but you frightened me, the way you acted, and the extreme nervousness. You remind me of Dwight that night chasing my tag and telling me that there's all kinds of people trying to kill him. You know, that's not acceptable, and that's not what we pay you to do. But yeah, I've thought about that situation a lot. I told you that I would never pull my gun on you, but I got to tell you, if you shoot at me, I can't promise you I'm not shooting back. That's just being real, man. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and cut this. It's been about 25-30 minutes. We'll go ahead and plug in. I do believe we have a live coming up on Sunday. I haven't visited a lot with Reagan here in the last few days. There's been a lot going on locally, but I know that we've talked a couple times, and it is on for this Sunday. I believe we're doing 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. The topic this weekend is going to be shelter, and we're going to talk about different shelter options and how they're employed. Matt, yes, Kansas constitutional carry. And guys, with that, I'll go ahead and say good night. Stay real and come to these meetings. If you're local people, we need you to come to these meetings and tell them what you think. Don't come tell them what I think. Come tell them what you think. They need to hear your opinions. Guys, have a good night, and thank you for tuning in. Pay attention. There's a lot happening. I'm hoping to keep you updated. Oh, hey, forgot to tell y'all before y'all disappear. We're no longer monetizing this channel. I know some people are dropping off, but I know the important people are still staying in here. There's no more monetization going on this channel. And the reason is because somebody decided to call me out and act like I have something to gain from all this work. And I showed them the lifetime earnings I've had from YouTube, and it totaled up to $2,588. So that, $60 to $100 a month, yeah, we're going to go ahead and just let that go so that we never have to worry about being accused of doing this for profit or gain. I actually, when I set the monetization to on, it was because somebody had talked me into it, saying that you have expenses, you might as well get paid to help cover those expenses. Now, it's not worth your criticism. So no more monetization on Lawrence Accountability. My old videos, I'm going to leave them monetized. Go watch them if you want to send me a few cents. But none going down the road. And Lockhart, that's going to be your worst fear, because now you can't say that I'm gaining anything out of this. Have a good night, guys.